dlaczego?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. I hope everyone's doing great this week. I'm doing alright. This is, of course, your one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We do have quite a loaded episode for you today. I got my thoughts on the Mario Kart Final Wave tracks. We got an indie direct to talk about. We got plenty of news, including a reappearance of the Suicide Squad video game. And I have a special ending part for this episode. Kalas and I went through all of the 3D Mario games and ranked them on a tier list. So stick around for that. Big news, folks. The Ferret Awards, the third annual Ferret Awards. The voting form will be available on the first week of December. So on the 3rd of December, you will be able to fill out a form, which I will put in the description of the episode, and you will be able to nominate any game that you want for the categories. More information about that, of course, will be on December 3rd, or on the podcast episode that's going to be out on December 3rd. So, yes, if you want to check that out, it will be available eventually down the road. All right, let's start off this episode with everyone's favorite. No, I'm just kidding. Let's start it off with what have I been playing this past week. Well, it finally happened, folks. The final wave for Mario Kart DLC is finally here. And I gotta say, it's probably the best one that's happened since the beginning. I would say I had the hardest time, really ordering these than I did with the last, 7 or how many other... I think this is wave 6, right? So the last, 5. I feel like the last 5 I had an easier time because the tracks were, there was, a few really good tracks, and then there was a bunch of tracks that were they're fine, or they're bad. There weren't too many bad tracks, and honestly, any new content for Mario Kart is a good thing, in my opinion. Mario Kart is one of my favorite series that Nintendo puts out, and it was actually a really smart idea to put out this DLC stuff because everyone went back and played Mario Kart 8 again. And Mario Kart 8 is a solid Mario Kart experience. I know a lot of people prefer Wii or even Double Dash, and I personally really like Double Dash, don't get me wrong. But, the latest and greatest is usually going to be the best. And Mario Kart 8 was there for us. It really was. Hopefully this means that a Mario Kart 9 or something like Mario Kart 9 is going to be coming around in the future, whether it be with a new console release or whatever. It's hard to say right now. But let me start talking about these courses, and I'm going to just kind of talk about them in a random order. Actually, I'm just going to go through and talk about them as they are on my list, from worst to best. And I say worst very loosely, because even the worst one on here is actually pretty good, like a C tier at best. So let's talk about it. Coming in at the bottom, it's Rome Avanti. Right? Rome Avanti? Yes. So this is a course based in, Rome, Italy. And you go around the Colosseum, you go through a bunch of ruins, you go through some streets, and the music is fine, the track is fine in general. I don't think there's anything super special about Rome Avanti. It's a cool place to drive around. Compared to other tour circuits, it's definitely towards the higher end of the city tracks. So, it was pretty good. What can I say? Next up is Daisy Circuit, which I know a lot of you are going, oh, yeah, after replaying Daisy Circuit a few times, I realized that the track is just way too basic, not enough happening, the road is too wide throughout the whole thing, and there's really no good secrets or shortcuts or drifting parts in this level or in this track at all. The music's a bop, and Daisy. I think Daisy is better than Peach. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it just this track just doesn't do it for me. The Daisy cruise ship in the background is a nice touch, but it just reminds me that the Daisy cruise ship course is actually much better than this game, than this level track. God, I keep messing that up. Madrid. Next up is Madrid Drive. Madrid something. Madrid, Spain. So Madrid, this course is actually really fun. Like, it's definitely one of my favorite city tracks, for Mario Kart 8's DLC and Mario Kart Tour, I guess. I love the music. I think that the course that you go on is really fun. Definitely like a winding, fun adventure. It's definitely high up on there. But it suffers the same problem as a lot of tour tracks does, where it's like, yeah, it's good. It's a pretty good length. It's got some good stuff in there, but it's just not. It's not anything super special that would make me go, oh, I'm so excited to play this again. I mean, the music is good enough, but yeah, I also like the ending has like this part where you're on like a football field, which was pretty fun. There's like soccer balls bouncing around, so there is some stuff in here that makes it that really elevates it above other tour city maps. But yeah, I mean, it's just in general, compared to other courses that are in Mario Kart 8 in general, it's just kind of like, okay, it's good. It's not amazing, but it's good. Up next is Piranha Plant Cove. This is one of the only tracks in that I know coming from Tour that aren't based on a city, next to the Christmas map and Yoshi's Island and the Sunday whatever it's called. Um, Piranha Plant Cove is a really fun track. I really liked it how you kind of you go from underwater to above water like multiple times. The only problem I have with the track is the naming convention, to be honest, because there's really not that many piranha plants on this course at all. I mean, there's more fish in this course than piranha plants, but it's a fun track. I do really like it. There's another track in Tour called like Piranha Pipeline or something like that, which I think would have been a better fit for this game. But I'll take Piranha Plant Cove. It was pretty good. I didn't mind it at all. But once again, just like with Madrid, it's just kind of like it's a course. It's enjoyable, but it's nothing that's I'm gonna like really scream and shout about. After that, Rosalina's Ice World. Now we're into like the A tier levels. Rosalina's Ice World, very fun level, very good music, very enjoyable layout, some ice stuff to work around, some half pipes to go off of. The only thing that really bothers me about this map is the camera angles when you're going up and down the half pipes. Much like with most half pipes on Mario Kart 8's deluxe courses, the camera just like does not do you any favors on where you're landing. And I think that's one thing that they definitely should have fixed going forward. There's a lot of times where I just skip half pipes because I know the camera's gonna fuck me up. So that's really the only thing that I don't like about it. Other than that, like I think this 3DS course has a great layout, some nice drifting moments, and some really nice visuals. And there's actually a part in the map where the ice melts, so you can go underwater for the next 2 laps. Kind of cool. Don't mind that at all. Next up, dun dun dun, it's DK Mountain. One of my favorite tracks from Double Dash. Actually, probably my favorite track from Double Dash, honestly. The DK Mountain is an adventure from the beginning to the end, and the only reason why it's lower than the other 2 tracks on this listing, on this ranking, is because they changed too much of it towards the end. I don't really mind that there's not as many bumps and whatever in the volcano, but the volcano is very he doesn't move. The volcano doesn't move anymore. And the course going down the hill, the rocks don't follow you all the way down. They just kind of like slam in front of you sometimes. And they took out, like, there used to be way more holes in the track. I do like the addition of like the bridge that's wobbling back and forth. But there's some things that I really wish that they did not change in this course, and I think they also widened the track as well, which is kind of weird to me too. So I think that it's because it was remade in Tour first and then moved into Mario Kart 8 that the lanes have been widened. But it's still one of those things that's like, it's a great track still. The new soundtrack for it is banging. It's amazing. But they massacred my boy a little bit. They gave him a few cuts, like it would have been so much better if they just kept it the original way. Sure, there's stuff that they added that I think is a good thing, but for the most part, I think that the additions to this track don't overlap the subtractions, in my opinion. But it's still a great track. Don't get me wrong. It's still like an S tier track. Love it. Coming in at number 2, Rainbow Road for the Wii. I know a lot of people swear by this map, and I will say it's a very fun Rainbow Road. In comparison to other Rainbow Roads that we've gotten, it's one of the best, probably the second best Rainbow Road next to 3DS. I think the 3DS Rainbow Road is just so much better with the planets and the moon surface and the track design. But Wii is really good, though. Lots of boosts, lots of fun like parts on this map. Like the boost into this, like, you know what I'm saying. You know, there's so many fun things about this track. The one part that I didn't like was there's like this figure 8 section. I thought it was just kind of confusing, didn't really make any sense. But other than that, it's a great track. It has a great soundtrack, but it doesn't beat number 1, which is Bowser Castle 3. Who knew that a SNES track would make it to be number 1 on any rankings on my list? But Bowser Castle 3 dominates all the competition with its redesign. Not only does it add some verticality to the map, but it adds like this really cool Bowser Castle lava aesthetic. There's multiple pathways to go with varying like jumps and stuff like that. There's a really cool shortcut where you gotta jump onto the top of some pillars and get some miniature boosts. And then at the end, there's some thwomps that you can actually trick off of, and it makes it one of the best maps that they've added to Mario Kart 8. It's short, it's sweet, but it's really fun. Really good track. Definitely play this one. I love this one. The soundtrack is heavy. The graphics, like the design of the track is sublime. I mean, everything about this just makes you want to go up and give Bowser a big old smooch. So yeah, there's my thoughts on the final Wave 6 DLC for Mario Kart 8. And there is a reason why I didn't talk about this last week. One, it was a packed schedule last week, and it still is. But two, I really wanted to take my time to make my worst to best Mario Kart Deluxe DLC courses. So I'm just going to quickly go through these. I'm not going to give any more thoughts than where they are on the list. So get ready, take a sip of water, breathe in, breathe out, and let's go through the worst to best Mario Kart 8 DLC tracks. Coming in at the bottom, we have Tokyo Blur, Los Angeles Laps, Sky High Sunday, Berlin Byways, Toad Circuit, Rome Avanti, Sunset Wilds, Shrooms Ridge, Peach Gardens, Mario Circuit 3, Snowland, Vancouver Velocity, Sky Gardens, Daisy Circuit, New York Minute, London Loop, Merry Mountain, Paris Promenade, Bangkok Rush, Mario Circuit, Madrid Drive, Coco Mountain, Rock Mountain, Koopa Cape, Ninja Hideaway, Sydney Sprint, Amsterdam Drift, Mushroom Gorge, Athens Dash, Piranha Plant Cove, Coconut Mall, Boo Lake, Riverside Park, Rosalina Ice World, Calamari Desert, Squeaky Clean Sprint, DK Mountain, Maple Treeway, Yoshi's Island, Waluigi Pinball, DK Summit, Moon View Highway, Waluigi Stadium, Singapore Speedway, Rainbow Road 3, Daisy Cruiser, Bowser Castle 3, and finally, Rainbow Road 3DS. So that should be every single track right there, rated for your pleasure. Okay. It's been a pleasure going through all of these courses. It's added content to the podcast, and of course added content to Mario Kart 8, which is very much well received. Oh, I'm sorry. Rainbow Road 3 was supposed to be Rainbow Road Wii, which was at number 4. I apologize. But anyway, a lot of fun with Mario Kart. And I said this in my review on GG, the app, but I'm ready. I'm ready for a new Mario Kart now. Mario Kart 8 was great. They did so much with it. It's time to move on, and hopefully they will. But as of right now, it was a great DLC, and definitely worth the price of admission. I would say more good maps than bad maps for sure. And even the bad maps, they're Mario Kart courses. They're going to be fun anyway. Other than that, I've been playing other games this week, of course. I played and finished Venba. which was nominated for a Game Award. We'll talk about that later. Venba is like this short point and click cooking game where you go through a tale with a family who has just moved to Canada from their home country. I think they're from India, I believe. But they of course they face adversity. They're raising a son in Canada, and he like grows up resenting his culture, or maybe not resenting it, but like not wanting to be a part of that because his friends at school think he's weird. So it kind of touches on some of that, but unfortunately, the game really it was over too quickly. It didn't have enough sections where you're actually cooking food. And that was the most fun part for me, like, especially early on when you're trying to like read the cookbook and there's like smudges and stuff, and you need to figure out what you need to do in order to get the recipe to work. And it does come back in the end a little bit where the son is trying to translate the words into English so he can make the food, which was fun, but it wasn't fun enough, and it didn't do enough for me personally. Yeah, it's a great game, and it does a lot, but for me, Venba was a 3 out of 5, which is just it's average. I've been working on other things right now, so I've been trying to get through like and finish some games like Alan Wake 2, Lies of P. Um, I'm just trying. I'm just trying to make my way through some games. I can't really talk about them right now because I'm still in the middle of them. So far, Alan Wake 2 still a great game. I still really like it. Same thing with Lies of P. Still a great game. Still really like it. So I will try and get those done by next week so I can actually do some reviews for them because I've been working on some games for quite some time. And there's a lot of games that I've had to drop this past year, which I don't want to drop them, but sometimes it just kind of has to happen. So if I have dropped a game, I definitely plan on getting back to most games that I drop. But it's one of those rules that I have. It's like if I don't finish the game in the year that it came out, it can't be on the top 10 list. So I'm trying to get some games done that I really like that I would like to be on the top 10 list. But who knows? Maybe I won't be able to finish them in time, or maybe I will. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, that's why I haven't really talked about those games in a while. It's because I'm still working on them, and I'm back on Liza P. So I should be getting that done soon. And same thing with Alan Wake. I did take a little break from it, and then I'm getting back into it. And I'm still really enjoying it. So I will definitely be talking about hopefully one of those two games in the coming week. All right, let's talk about some games we streamed. Wall E. We played the PC version. There's also a plethora of other versions that are older as well, like Xbox 360, PS3, PS2, GameCube, stuff like that. Actually, a really fun platformer game, kind of a unique platformer game where you use Wally's maneuverability with his little treads, his little tank treads, and he can do like half pipe jumps and get really fast and stuff like that. So I think the game was very enjoyable. The combat was very basic, but whatever. It's a kids game, so it's a bit too easy at times. But there's some things in there that are kind of fun to do. Obviously, it loosely is based on the movie. Even though things from the movie actually do happen, a lot of the levels are based on just whatever the developer was thinking of that week. And excuse me. And yeah, it's just one of those. It's just one of those games. It's like it's fun. It's definitely worth a playthrough. It's a movie game, so it's kind of crazy that a movie game is this good. I ended up giving it an A tier. And then we tried to get through Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Wasn't vibing with it at all. I thought it was way too... It was too focused on making the game look pretty than actually being a playable experience. Kojima's a master of camera angles and storytelling, right? But in the case of Castlevania, Konami put Kojima on this game, the development studio, and it just didn't work out. The story is not good. The camera angles are all over the place. The combat is just overly complicated for no apparent reason. I mean, you have two different versions of magic, and you have to press different buttons to collect magic orbs and different buttons to use the magic. I just feel like there should have been a more streamlined way to do this. They did not need to make it so aggressively difficult to manage your stuff. And also, like, the camera angle didn't help with the combat. I thought the combat was also pretty weak too, in my opinion. And the boss fights kind of frustrating. I don't know what else to say. I had to stop playing because look, it's no one's fault. Like, I'm not blaming anyone. Okay, I sometimes I get a bit annoyed, a bit angry, and I start going like, why are you guys doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? But in the end, it's really no one's fault. Like, who knew that I would be not enjoying so many games this month? And I do apologize if it comes off like I am aggressively like blaming the people who picked the games. I'm not. I didn't know that Green Lantern was going to be a bad game. I didn't know that I wasn't going to vibe with Lords of Shadow. I didn't know that Hulk was going to be such a clusterfuck. You know, these games are on my list because I want to play them. And maybe I haven't played them since I was a kid, or maybe I've never played them. And it just boggles my mind a little bit that so many games in a row have just kind of been stinkers. Like, we recently tried to replay Ukulele for the first time since I played it back in like 2015 or something like that, and I helped fund that game, and I just, after you get past that first world, it just takes a nosedive in quality, and I just could not get through it. And like, I've said it multiple times on podcasts and on live stream that I don't like Ukulele as like the first game. The Impossible Lair is great, but that game, that 3D platformer, is just so bad. And it's just it wasn't like the best choice for me to play right now after so many games have just royally pissed me off. But we're moving past it. I've turned over a new leaf in the recent years where I'm not going to force myself to play through a game if I don't like it. If I don't like it, we will stop playing and we'll move on. It's just upsetting to me a lot because I like to keep my VOD channel up to date with like the latest happenings, but I'm not going to upload unfinished games to the VOD channel. So, the people who watch the VOD channel for whatever reason over the live streams, they're missing like a whole month of content because I finished like 3 games this month so far. So it's kind of sad. But the next game we're playing is Madagascar, so maybe it'll be better, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the show, which is what was announced at that game showcase. Okay, I'm probably not even going to put this in the title, but there was an indie showcase this past week in November, and usually I'm pretty excited for indie showcases. The last one was actually pretty good. I felt like it was a very solid indie showcase. This one, not great. I will say that before we get started. Not that the games were bad or terrible. It's just, for me, there wasn't a lot that I was personally interested in. But let's go ahead and get started here. So, Shantae Advance Risky Revolution. This is a Game Boy Advance game that was never finished by the developers of Shantae, and they're bringing it back in all its glory, restored and completed 2 decades later. We already knew about the game, but they did give it a release date, I believe. Maybe not. Maybe they didn't give it a release date yet, but I think it's coming out next year. They also revealed that there's going to be a new 4-player battle mode if you want to check that out. This game is going to have you playing on 2 different layers on your screen, so you can switch between the back layer and the front layer, and you can also change the world behind you by pressing specific buttons in a world too, which is kind of cool. You can also transform into different animals like a monkey and a elephant. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff happening here. Should be pretty cool. This is probably one of the better things at the Indie Showcase, but unfortunately we already knew that Shantae was coming out from the last Indie Showcase, I'm pretty sure, or maybe even the last Nintendo Direct, honestly. But yeah, I mean, it looks good. It looks great. So that will be coming next year. Also coming next year is a game called Core Keeper. So this is like a top-down survival mining game where you explore the vast caverns full of creatures, relics, and resources in this mining sandbox adventure. Up to 8 players can work together in online cooperative multiplayer. As an adventurer drawn towards a mysterious relic, it is up to you to uncover the secrets of this long forgotten world. So yeah, you can play with other people, play your own way, do a little mining. Looks okay. On Your Tail, this is coming out next year as well. This is coming from Humble Games. This game is definitely made by a group of furries, just to preference that. It doesn't look bad, though. I mean, I, it looks fine, I should say. It doesn't look bad at all. It's essentially a detective game where you go around trying to find clues while talking to characters, and you use your magnifying glass to recreate crime scenes and stuff like that. And then you can go to your mind palace and put together the clues and figure out the case. It doesn't look bad at all. I think the graphics are maybe a bit too basic in some ways, but I think the characters look good themselves. And I think that the art style when you're in like the dream world is actually not too bad. Like it actually looks pretty good. So I will probably be checking this out when it comes out next year. Once again, this is coming from Humble Games. So if you want to check that out, On Your Tail. A game that came out today, the same day that the Indie Direct was announced or done, is a game called Howl. This is a turn-based strategy game with a unique art style, kind of like this ink art style, where you use your character to defeat werewolves and stuff like that. Essentially, you're just trying to make your way through and save people and defeat the hordes of werewolves. This is a fairy tale world ravaged by the Howl, a sinister plague spreading through sound alone. You are a deaf prophet who can find the cure and bring peace back to the realm. So it's pretty interesting. So if you want to try it out, there is a demo out today if you want to check that out. Next up, The Star Named Eos. This is a puzzle adventure game set in first person. And essentially, you go around and manipulate objects in the world to solve puzzles and such. So from going along a map, trying to find film for your camera, trying to make a sandwich, I guess, or make some coffee and a sandwich. Yeah, it looks fine. The art style is nice, but it is a narrative-based point-and-click adventure game. So if that doesn't sound like something you would want to play, you might want to steer clear of this one. But this is coming in spring of 2024. The Star Named Eos. Also out today, Backpack Hero. This is a game that was in early access on Steam for quite some time. But it's officially gotten a version 1 release on Steam, and it's now available on Switch as a limited time console exclusive. This is a roguelike game where you fill your backpack with necessities, and you fight creatures with the different things inside your backpack. So you can choose to fight with a sword, choose to fight with a bow and arrow, heal, stuff like that. And everything is stored inside your backpack. So of course, as you go, it's a roguelite. So as you go through, you get upgrade material to expand your backpack. There's also multiple characters to unlock. Also, the main part of the game is also rebuilding the area around the dungeon. So you also do that as well, and you can actually choose where you want the buildings to be. This next to Shantae and another game I'm going to get to later. Actually, next is one of the best things that they showed off during the Indie World Showcase, and I think that I might be picking this up on Steam in the near future. But yeah, it's a pretty fun looking game. It got a pixel art style, and yeah, Backpack Hero launched already. It's out right now. So the other game that I said was pretty cool was called Blade Chimera. This was a game that I didn't know about, or maybe we didn't know about. I already knew about Backpack Hero and Shantae, so this was a nice breath of fresh air to finally get something new that I found super interesting. So essentially, in a dystopian Osaka, a group known as the Misa Association are charged with protecting the city from demon attacks. One of its members heads out on this deadly assignment when things take an unexpected turn in this 2D action pixel art game. You wield the powerful Lumina Sword, a demon transformed into a weapon. The blade not only cuts down foes, but can also interfere with time itself, restoring once destroyed stairs, bridges, platforms to reach new areas. So yeah, I think it's kind of like a Metroidvania, 2D Metroidvania action kind of game. Looks pretty good. Looks like you also use some guns in the game as well, which is kind of fun looking. But this is coming out in spring of 2024. If you want to check that out, looks pretty cool. Definitely worth a look. Highland Song finally got a release date of December 5th. So this is coming to Switch and I believe other platforms as well, if I'm not mistaken. This is that game where it's like a 2D game. It's hand-drawn art. And essentially you're playing as this girl, Moria, as she runs, jumps, climbs, and shambles her way up a 2.5D mountain. It also has some rhythm elements as well inside of it. There's multiple paths to explore, multiple endings to get in the game, and essentially you're just trying to get to the top of the mountain to meet like your uncle or something like that. So yeah, I mean the music is great and the visuals look really nice. It's just too bad that we already know about this game, so it's like not a super big reveal or anything like that. But the game does look good, so if you want to check it out, a Highland Song that'll be out on the 5th of December. Moonstone Island. This is a pretty fun-looking pixel art game, I suppose. I guess. I mean, I don't know. It probably looks fun to someone. For me myself, it looks fine. It kind of reminds me of whatchamacall, Terraria mixed with dungeon crawling, deck building, and life sim features. There are 100 procedurally generated islands to explore, both in the sky and underground. Yeah, you can become a part of the local community, craft items, tend to your farm, brew potions, decorate your home, befriend local villagers, and even fall in love. So, Moonstone Island will be available in spring of 2024. A game that has a demo out today, but it's not going to be available until next year, called Death Trick Double Blind. This is a non-linear detective visual novel set in Morrigan's Traveling Circus. You star as a magician, Hattie. I'm sorry, the star magician Hattie has gone missing, and you will team up with a fellow magician yourself to try and get to the bottom of the case. Art style looks fine. It is a point-and-click adventure game, so hamper your expectations per se. But yeah, I mean, it looks like it's gonna be fine. I don't know. It looks fine for like these types of games. I feel like maybe shouldn't be advertised so heavily on the Switch. I mean, it's in an indie direct, obviously, but a game like this, I would rather play with a mouse and keyboard. The joystick controls are just not going to be as good as point and click, the actual point and click, move your mouse, but looks fine. Also, Outer Wilds Archaeologist Edition is coming out December 7th, 2023. As you know, Outer Wilds is a open world adventure game. I believe this is the first time it's coming to Switch, I believe. So if you want to pick it up on Switch, they have optimized it for the console. Archaeologist Edition is available December 7th. After that, we just had a bunch of random like games pop up in like a final montage. So it was really a lackluster ending because that's all we got, and then the indie direct ended. So we saw Planet of Lana is coming to Switch in spring of 2024. Enjoy the Diner is out today. This is a narrative text adventure where it has a pretty interesting art style. It's like a yellow and blue shades kind of art style. Doesn't look too bad per se, but also doesn't look too thrilling. Heavenly Bodies will be available in 2024 on the Switch. This is a game where you play as astronauts and you try and work together with your friends in zero G to fix your station. The Gecko Gods. This has been revealed as coming in 2024 of spring of 2024. This is going to be an open world game where you play as a gecko. We already knew about this one. Passport 2, The Lost Artist, is out today, or out right now. This is a game that you use like your Switch to paint. It doesn't look amazing, but it's a game. Next up, Urban Myth Disillusion Center. This is like a pixel art adventure game. I believe this is a Japanese exclusive right now, but the pixel art looks great. But the game is a point and click adventure game, as this seems to be the par for the course for this indie direct. And then finally, Braid Anniversary Edition. This is coming on the 30th of April, 2024. they've released so many they've had so many re-releases of Braid. You wonder when they're just going to make a new game, but not yet. They're re-releasing the game once more for the anniversary edition. This is a highly acclaimed 2008 2D puzzle game with some really nice graphical styles. And they've definitely upped the ante for like the graphics and the stuff like that. So I guess it's worth an upgrade. But there you go. So, what did you think of the Indie Direct? Me personally, wasn't a huge fan of it. I would give it a high D tier. There's only 3 games that really caught my eye, 2 of which we already knew about, which I do factor in. But as I always say, indie games do matter. Stuff like the indie presentation showcases, they don't have to happen. Nintendo doesn't have to do this stuff, but it's nice that they do this stuff, because indie developers need all the support they can get. So if any of these games catch your eye, add them to your wish list, buy them if you want to, and check them out. I'm sure that the indie developers would very much appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. First up, the Video Game Awards. They got JustKalas announced all the games and the categories for this year's Game Awards. We're going to just start at the bottom and go to the top. So we got most anticipated game. We got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. I think I would vote for Star Wars Outlaws there. I think I'm going to go with the underdog. Hades 2 might win, but also Tekken 8 is probably a shoe in the win. Also, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I feel like you know what? Never mind. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is definitely going to win this one, but I would personally vote for Star Wars Outlaws. Best adaptation. So this is like a TV show, movie, etc. Castlevania, Nocturne, Gran Turismo, the movie, The Last of Us TV show, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Twisted Metal are all up for the nomination here. I would probably vote for The Last of Us. I'm going to guess that Super Mario Bros. Movie is going to win, but we never know. Best debut indie, which means a developer who has made their first game and they've never been on the stage at the Game Awards before. So we got Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. This is one of the hardest categories for me to choose from because I love Cocoon, I love Dredge, and I love Pizza Tower. I would probably vote for Pizza Tower here, but Dredge or Cocoon could win for sure. Probably Cocoon's gonna win because that indie developer is more well known. Pizza Tower though, I mean, it's kind of annoying that like once a game gets popular like Pizza Tower, people start to just viciously hate it for some reason because it's popular. Like, I found it before it was popular. Like, yeah, I found it before anyone talked about it, but you don't hear me whining and complaining when people are actually playing the game. It's a good thing that people are playing the game. So yeah, Pizza Tower definitely probably the best indie on the list there, but Cocoon is right behind it. Don't get me wrong. Best multiplayer game, we got Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. They definitely need to mix. They definitely need to make 2 categories like I do. Well, I guess not. They definitely need to make like online multiplayer versus like multiplayer game, like co-op game. I feel like there needs to be 2 separate categories for that, because when I think of multiplayer games, I don't think of Super Mario Bros. Wonder or Baldur's Gate, but out of these games, I mean, Street Fighter 6 is pretty good. It might win this one, but Diablo 4 is pretty big too. Best sports and racing game. Oh boy. We got EA Sports FC 24, F1 23, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, Turbocharged, and The Crew Motorfest. I have not played any of these games. I would like the meme of Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged to win, but I think Forza is going to win, or The Crew Motorfest, either one. Best simulation strategy game, we got Advanced Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, Cities Skylines 2, Company Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. My vote goes to Pikmin 4. I don't know if it's going to win, but I would like it to win. If not Pikmin 4, I'm not sure what else in this list could win. There's a lot of people who are unhappy with City Skylines 2. Company Heroes 3 reviewed pretty average. Fire Emblem Engage, that came out too long ago for me to remember anything about. So yeah, Pikmin 4. Go with Pikmin 4. Best family game. We got Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I can almost guarantee that Super Mario Bros. Wonder is going to win. I don't know if I would pick that for the best family game. I feel like family game is like a game that you and like your parents and stuff could pick up and just play. Like someone who isn't like a big gamer could play. I feel like Disney Illusion Island isn't that way. It's a Metroidvania, you know? Party Animals, yeah, sure, you could probably pick it up and teach your parents how to play it, but I don't think it has any couch co-op options in it right now. Pikmin 4, um, it's a great game, but the co-op is not that great. It's just the other person throws rocks at enemies. So I don't know if I would say that that's the best like family game per se. Sonic Superstars and Super Mario Bros. Wonder are the only two that I would see feasible winning here, because both of them include multiple characters to choose from. It's easy, both of these games are easy enough to pick up and just play. But I would probably vote for Super Mario Bros. Wonder here. Seeing I haven't even played Sonic Superstars. It's on my shelf, but I haven't played it yet. Best fighting game. We got God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. I honestly, everything that I've heard about Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 is leading me to say that is probably going to win because it is like probably one of the best Smash Bros. Clones out there. If you're listening to this and you want to get me something for Christmas, All Star Brawl 2 is on my list. I would probably vote for, since I haven't played Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2, I think Street Fighter 6 is better than Mortal Kombat 1, so I would probably vote for Street Fighter 6, but I think Mortal Kombat 1 is going to win. Best role-playing game, RPG. We've got Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. So this one's going to be interesting. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win this, because that is like that is like the example of like what an RPG could be, what it should be, right? It's got all the different character stuff going on. It's got all the different choices. It's got all the different elements of like a Dungeons and Dragons game. Me personally, I would go with Lies of P here because it is a great game. Starfield is probably going to be like the underdog here, I would say. I think more people are going to vote for Baldur's Gate 3, though, than something like Starfield. Like, even if all the Xbox fanboys came out and voted for Starfield, I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 would still win. But my vote personally would go to Lies of P, since that's out of all the games here, I haven't finished Final Fantasy. I haven't even started Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't played Sea of Stars. Between Starfield and Lies of P, I'm picking Lies of P over Starfield any day. Best action and adventure game. We got Alan Wake 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda's Tears of the Kingdom. This is another kind of toughie. Resident Evil 4 had great combat, but once again, and I'll probably mention this later, it is a remake, so I don't know. I mean, I would rather have Dead Space here than Resident Evil 4. I would probably be like, yeah, Dead Space is great. Why is Resident Evil here and not Dead Space? I mean, Resident Evil 4 did change up the combat a lot, but Dead Space just has a better combat system in general, so I don't know. Star Wars Jedi Survivor does have good combat. I liked all the new stances you can get. I'm not going to hold the game's glitchy and unfinishedness against it for like the action and stuff like that, but on this list, it's between Alan Wake 2 and Marvel Spider-Man 2. Probably would pick Spider-Man 2 right now, but we'll see how I feel after all is said and done. I think that Marvel Spider-Man 2 is going to win this, but who knows. Best action game, which is weird. Why we have an action and an action adventure game, I don't know, because Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2 all have open worlds to explore, kind of open worlds to explore. So what's the difference between this action game and action adventure? I don't know. But in this list here, Fires of Rubicon is really good. Dead Island 2 is really good. Ghost Runner 2 I did not like. Hi-Fi Rush is pretty good, and Remnant 2 I did not like. So out of the games that I've finished on this list, I would go with Dead Island 2. But that might change if I do finish Hi-Fi Rush by the end of the year or Fires of Rubicon. But me personally, I mean, come on, throw Dead Island 2 a bone. It was delayed so long, stuck in limbo for so long, and it finally came out, and it's a good freaking game. Vote for it, people. Best VR game. We got Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Humanity, Resident Evil Village VR mode, and Synapse. Synapse is pretty cool. I only played a little bit of it, but it's a pretty cool game. I would probably vote for that. But Humanity is like my underdog for this because the VR mode in Humanity was really fun, and it was a puzzle game, and it was really fun. Um, I'm gonna guess that Horizon Call of the Mountain is gonna win, even though that's glorified tech demo. I think it's gonna win though. Innovation and accessibility. Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6. I don't know anything about the accessibility options in these games, but I do know that Spider-Man 2 has a ton of them, so I would probably vote for that, and I would think that that was going to win best indie game in general. So we got some doubling up here, which is kind of interesting. So best indie game, we got Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. I would vote Cocoon here. Viewfinder was cool, but I don't think it deserves to be on this list. I know Kalas would vote for Sea of Stars here. I haven't played it though. Dredge is really good, and Dave the Diver is really cool, but it has come under a bit of scrutiny because Dave the Diver was developed by like a multi-million-dollar company. So is it truly an indie game? That's up for debate, but it's a great game, and I think it deserves to be somewhere on like a best games list. Of course, I haven't finished it myself, but it's really fun. But yeah, I would vote for Cocoon, and I think Sea of Stars is gonna win. Best ongoing game, we got Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. Man, I would probably vote for Cyberpunk 2077 just because they've completely redone that game and made it better. I think Fortnite's gonna win, but yeah. Games for Impact. So we got these are games that like include issues, real life issues, multiple characters and stuff like that. So we got A Space for the Unbound, Chance of Senar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terra Nil, and Venba. Out of the games I played on this list, Goodbye Volcano High definitely wins it for me. I am surprised that that Thirsty Suitors isn't on here because, I mean, talk about a game with representation, you know. But I would probably vote for Goodbye Volcano High. I'm not sure what's going to win this one. I'm going to leave it up in the air right now. Best performance, we got Ben Starr, who voiced the main character in Final Fantasy, right? Cameron Monaghan, who played the main character in Jedi Survivor. Idris Elba, who was in Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC. Melaine Liberd, who is Saga in Alan Wake 2. Neil Newburn, who is one of the characters in Baldur's Gate 3. And Yuri Lowenthal for Marvel Spider-Man 2. Out of all these characters, I would go with Cameron Monaghan for his role as Cal in Jedi Survivor. I think Idris Elba is going to win, though. I like Yuri Lowenthal's voice for Peter Parker, but I didn't find his performance to be I didn't find his performance to be better than any of the other characters listed on this best performance list. So still good, but you know. Best audio design, we got Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. I would vote for Dead Space or Alan Wake 2. I think Resident Evil 4 is going to win this one, though. Next up, best score in music. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. From what I've heard from the soundtrack, Tears of the Kingdom doesn't really do anything different from Breath of the Wild, and I don't think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, of course. Hi-Fi Rush probably should win this one. I would probably give it to Alan Wake 2, though. I think that the soundtrack is amazing, and I just got past the part that was like a music level, and it was so good. Hi-Fi Rush, though, I think is going to win this. Best art direction, we got Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I would probably vote for Alan Wake 2 here, although Lies of P is really good, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder is pretty good. I think either Hi-Fi Rush or Legend of Zelda is going to win, even though Legend of Zelda doesn't do much more than Breath of the Wild, but that's neither here nor there. I haven't played the game. Best Narrative, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel Spider-Man 2. I would personally vote for Marvel Spider-Man 2 or Alan Wake 2. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win. Full stop. Best Game Direction, we got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. For Game Direction, I mean, how can you beat Baldur's Gate 3's game direction? You know, like I understand it's a turn-based strategy game, but at its core, it's Dungeons and Dragons. It gives you so many options. You know, I haven't played the game yet, and I'm kind of supporting the run for this one. But from games I've played, best game direction I would probably give to Alan Wake 2, and then Game of the Year. We have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom. I think Resident Evil 4 being on this list is unfortunate because it's good. Don't get me wrong. I really liked it. But Dead Space remake is so much better than Resident Evil 4 remake. I mean, this is not even a contest in my mind. Better graphics, better gore, better visuals, better redesigns, better voice acting. Like, how much more can I say about Dead Space? Resident Evil 4 should not be on the Game of the Year contention list. Dead Space should be there if you're going to put a remake on this list, which, let me be clear, I don't think Resident Evil 4 should be on this list simply because it is a remake. But if you're going to put a remake on this list, Dead Space is the guy to put on there. Out of all these games, I'm not going to tell you which one I would personally pick, but I will tell you that I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to take the cake on this one. I don't think Mario Bros. Or Resident Evil or Legend of Zelda or Alan Wake even comes near to the level that Baldur's Gate 3 is. But a close second would probably be Spider-Man 2. I just don't think any of the other games have a chance at this point for Game of the Year. Now, I could be wrong, and Resident Evil 4 could win for some reason. But as of right now, I'm putting my money, if I was going to put money on it, I put it on Baldur's Gate 3. And like I said, I haven't even played Baldur's Gate 3. It's just from all the content that I've watched that includes, like, Baldur's Gate 3 talk in there somewhere. Everyone's always gushing over it. Am I going to buy it this year? No. I've decided not to buy it this year. Mainly because it's a huge game. I don't have time. But maybe in the future, somewhere down the road, I will be like, oh, I should have put this on my top 10 list. I'm such an idiot for not playing it. Well, maybe I shouldn't have been an idiot and bought Forspoken earlier this year because maybe I would have a little bit more money to spend on video games at the end of the year. But that's my own personal problem. What do you think of the Video Game Awards? Let me know in the comments below what you think should win Game of the Year. Also, the Game Awards voting is going to be available in Fortnite, which is kind of weird. Also, Jeff Keighley is joining Fortnite, which is not unexpected, to be honest. So essentially, you can go to different islands and vote for what you think should win by, just interacting with things. Jeff Keighley said this about the special event in Fortnite. Ever since I hosted live from Risky Reels in Fortnite in 2019, I've been thinking about ways the Game Awards could bring our celebration inside the game we play every day. Our Fortnite island is the first experiment in this direction, and I'm particularly excited to help shine the spotlight on the amazing user-generated community content around the world. To access the Game Awards vote in Fortnite, you need to input the island code of 0853-1358-8532. Fan voting on the island is limited once per person per Epic ID. The voting is active until the 6th of December, and their winner will be revealed on the 7th of December. So if you want to check that out, that is available now to try out in Fortnite. Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League has returned with an all-new gameplay video and commentary available now. Spoiler alert, they did not really redesign the game much at all. I don't know why there was a huge pushback on the game, but it is still going to be a live service game at its core with plenty of cosmetic items and stuff like that. So what they've set out to do is create a new third-person action shooter game. They set it in the same universe as the Batman Arkham games. essentially it's only set in the same universe to try and get some nostalgia clicks. You know what I'm saying? But they showed off a lot of the like trailer, like I'm sorry, the cinematics for the game, and I think in general the cinematics are not that bad. Like I think that there's some actual good character moments that they show in here, some maybe some actual good fun moments in here between the characters. It's hard to say whether this stuff is going to be throughout the game, obviously, because we only know so much about it. But it's one of those things that's like, yeah, I think that it has a chance for sure. It has a chance to be something good. But at its core, it's still like a generic action third person shooter with these characters who really, like, Captain Boomerang, King Shark, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, like, they're going up against some impossible odds here. It's just and even in the context of the Arkham universe, like Harley Quinn was just like Harley Quinn. Deadshot was Deadshot. Of course, Captain Boomerang and King Shark didn't show up in Arkham the Arkham games, but once again, it's like obviously they have to like equip these characters with stuff that they would never have in the universe ever. But yeah, I mean the traversal stuff looks fine. It kind of reminds me of a better version maybe of Gotham Knights. Like that's the thing though. I think a lot of people are going to compare this game to Gotham Knights simply because it is a third-person action game, and Gotham Knights was also kind of like a loot and beat 'em up kind of game. And this game kind of looks the same thing except with guns, right? And I think that it's a fair comparison to make Gotham Knights to Suicide Squad. And once Suicide Squad comes out, I'll be comparing the two. But yeah, essentially they showed off some gameplay. They showed that Jon Stewart is Green Lantern in this universe, and he's been taken over by Brainiac. And they also revealed that the Flash is not going to be infected with the Brainiac thing from the get-go. So that means something happens story-wise throughout your time playing. Does the game look fun? I think the game does look kind of fun, but it is still like, it's still like one of those things. Like the thing that made the Batman Arkham games truly special was their Metroidvania elements, that strong single player narrative, phenomenal cutscenes and voice acting, and I'm just not getting all of that from these little snippets of gameplay we've seen. But do I think the game's going to be fun? Sure. Is it going to be worth picking up right away? I would probably, if you're debating, maybe wait for some reviews to come out. I will be getting it day one, I believe. It's coming out February 2nd. So if you want to check it out, it's coming around. That video is available on PlayStation's YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, it's a 19-minute video, and we will see what happens. Also, there will be free villains, weapons, and events set for Suicide Squad after launch. If you buy the deluxe edition, which is $100, it'll bundle the outfit pack, bonus weapons, and 3 days of early access to the game, along with a Battle Pass token. So the base edition of the game, all you do is get access to the game post-launch. I think there's going to be some DLC for this game, but I think Warner Brothers is saying that everything in the future is going to be a part of a battle pass system, so events, in-world events and stuff like that, which once again reiterates the fact that, like, yeah, that's the stuff that people didn't like and they're keeping it in the game. And even if the game is like super fun, I think that with it being a live service game at its core, it's probably going to be looked down upon. Me personally, though, as long as it's a fun gameplay experience at its core and it does enough during the story to keep me interested, I'm okay with that. Give me a nice lengthy campaign, give me fun combat, give me some nice graphics. I don't care if afterwards is when the game really begins, if I get enough content in the initial, story mode and stuff like that. So I most likely will be getting this day one. If you want to get it with me, I'm sure I'll be willing to play it with other people, But February is a pretty busy, the start of the year is pretty busy next year. We got Tekken 8, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Persona 3 Reloaded coming out at the same time. So it's going to be a crowded month, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pushed it back another month eventually down the road. Embracer Group has laid off a grand total of 900 people during its firings since the second quarter of 2023. So these 900 employees are about 5% of the total staff, which is kind of crazy because 900 employees is not a low number. So Embracer Group is definitely like a fucking large company. Um, but during a earnings presentation, the CEO Lars Wingforce said, "Before we get to business about the details of our second quarter, I want to start this conference by saying a personal thank you to the 900 people who left Embracer in the second quarter." Oh yeah, they just left. They weren't fired or anything like that. He also said that they want to become a leaner, stronger company, and it's painful that they have to let go of so many people. So, as I've already stated before, a lot of these people's firings came from teams like Free Radical, Crystal Dynamics, Gearbox, etc. Um, and we already know that Asper Group has also hit a bit of a nosedive with the layoffs because they have officially stopped development on Knights of the Old Republic remake. Now, does this mean that the game is completely DOA, dead in the water, I mean? No, but stopping development on a game like this is pretty big news. From a source inside the company, they said the game is not being worked on right now. Full stop. The game is not being worked on in any way at any studio. Both of the leads on the game left the company, and one of the other people, and one of them said that they don't know what's going to happen with the game. The reality is that the game it needs to be picked up by Lucasfilm completely to get it back up and running. He said that there's no way that this game will ever happen without Lucasfilm, in his opinion, right now. So yeah, it's one of those things like it's kind of crazy. You know, a few months ago, Sony took down the reveal trailer, and it was reported that it was because of some copyright issue with the music, and it wasn't re-upped or whatever. But now we know for certain that it was probably because the game is silently being is ending development. And we'll see if this is a full cancellation. But as of right now, stopping development is about as canceled as you can get without actually being canceled. So, and I think that part of that is because Saber Interactive and Aspire are two studios that were heavily affected also by the layoffs. All right, Twitter's integration is officially offline on both Xbox and PlayStation after Elon Musk said he was going to look into the situation. Nothing apparently happened. There was no deal reached, meaning that a day later after the service was supposed to be turned off, it was turned off. So you can still use like the PS5 capture system to download clips and put them on the Twitter yourself. Or you could download the PlayStation app and screenshot stuff and upload it onto the site, or use like I said, use a USB drive to transfer stuff. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they couldn't reach a new deal. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter because fuck Twitter. You know what I'm saying? All right, moving on. There is a new Half-Life documentary out right now on Valve's YouTube channel. Simply titled Half-Life 25th Anniversary Documentary. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but it's an hour long, and it's got a lot of good information about the early development of the game and how it became such a phenomenon. Gabe Newell said during an interview, "We could try to force this thing out the door, but that's not the company we want to be. That's not the people we want to be. That's not the relationship we want with our customers." He said a quote pretty close to what Miyamoto once said, where he was like, "A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad." He said something kind of similar, like "late is just a little while, suck is forever," which I like that a little bit less, but it's still kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, if Half-Life had come out in a rushed state, obviously it wouldn't have had the lasting power that it has nowadays. I mean, Half-Life, along with some other games at the time, were definitely trailblazers in the narrative first-person shooter adventure games. So, thank the Heavenly Stars that Half-Life came out and it was such a hit. Also, for right now, as I'm recording this, you can download or add Half-Life to your Steam library for free right now if you want to check that out. Finally, for the news today, Wonder Woman, the game. It has been confirmed that it is going to be a single-player game, but it's possibly going to have some sort of, I don't know, some sort of like battle pass system. Maybe not battle pass, but live service elements. They said. But it seems like it's mostly going to be a a third person action adventure game. They were stating that's going to kind of be in the same vein as like an Assassin's Creed game, whatever that's going to mean. So as of right now, we really don't know much about what this game is going to fully be, but at least we do know that they are focusing on making it a good story-based third-person action game single-player experience. So that's good to know. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, that's the information we got, and we're going to stick with it. All right, let's move on to what's coming soon. Okay, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered has officially been announced after pretty much everything was leaked. So Sony was kind of forced to show off the trailer right now rather than wait. Compared to The Last of Us Part 1 Remaster, obviously it's not that big of a difference from what I can tell. Because Last of Us Part 2 already looked great even on the PS4. Obviously having a native PS5 version is going to probably up the resolution on some things, maybe make some things look a little bit better. But for the most part, it's about what I remember from when I played the game originally. But they said that they're going to be adding some new content into the game, like some new outfits. There's going to be some lost levels you can play, which is kind of interesting. And then there's also going to be a guitar free play that you can do, which means you can kind of strum it to your heart's content anytime you want. And then there's also going to be a game mode called No Return, which is a new roguelite kind of experience that they're adding to the game. So the offerings are pretty good. The only drawback is that the game is going to be the $70 price tag that every other Sony game is. So I think that it is a bit of a detriment to a game like this that's like, I can justify, $70 for The Last of Us Part 1. That's a full from the ground remake. They added a bunch of new stuff in there in terms of like accessibility. They upped the graphics a ton. I can justify the $70 price tag for that game from a business standpoint. From a personal standpoint, why are we making it more than the original game when it first released? I don't know. But the same argument can be made for this game. Why aren't we making The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered $60? Why is it $70? Does it really do that much more to up the price $10? Even then, the game doesn't look much different. I'm sure it's going to look great, just like the original game. But once again, why are we selling this game for so much more money than the base game is worth right now? There's really not enough, in my opinion, added to this game to justify a $70 price tag. The nice thing is, if you have The Last of Us Part 2 already on PS4, you can upgrade it for $10. And I think most people who own a PS4 have The Last of Us Part 2, so I guess that's not too bad, all things considered. I think that for the people who want to come into this game for the first time on the PS4, I truly think that a $70 price tag is a bit much in my opinion, especially because it doesn't look that different from the original game. Compare Last of Us Remastered to The Last of Us Part 1, and you can see a definite and total difference. Last of Us Part 2 Remastered to Last of Us Part 2 in general, not that big of a difference. Still a great looking game. Oh my god. Still a great looking game. Probably going to be the great experience that we know and love, but adding in a roguelite mode and some new outfits and some levels that you cut from the game because you probably thought they were not good enough is not going to be good enough for me to justify getting a whole $70 new game. But I probably will spend the $10 to upgrade it when I eventually decide to replay the game, probably next Halloween. Dragon's Dogma 2 has a showcase coming around. It's going to feature some new gameplay and some new reveals. So on the 28th of November, around 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the publisher has announced that there's going to be a 15 minutes of fresh gameplay footage and new information. Hideki Itsuno and producer Yoshiaki Hirabayashi will present on the show. And they also might be revealing the release date. We will wait and see. So hopefully the release date isn't too far out. But if it isn't, understandable. Obviously, Dragon's Dogma is going to be a huge game, and they want to make it the best that they can. So if you want to, make sure you tune in for the Dragon's Dogma 2 live showcase or whatever you want to call it. That'll be happening on the 28th of November. Spyro is back, folks, in Crash Team Rumble. So after adding in Ripto from Spyro 2, in Season 3, they are finally adding in Spyro to the roster of characters you can play as. So this new season is going to be called All Fired Up. It's going to contain a new mode, new maps, new powers, and other seasonal events, along with another 100-tier premium battle pass that you can work through. This will be coming on December 7th from Toys for Bob. So yeah, Spyro is joining it, and also the deer character. I forget her name right now. I apologize. Fawn? Is that her name? Fawn something? It looks like she's also in the picture with Ripto, so it's possible that she's also being a playable character as well. I think there's going to be a full reveal coming out in the next week or so. But as of right now, interesting that they're adding Spyro in. I still really like this game. I just wish that I just wish that we had gotten a single player Crash game. And you know what? A Crash and Spyro team up single player game, maybe even co-op game, would probably be pretty cool. But we'll see what Microsoft does in the near future. Baldur's Gate 3, on the back of all of its Game Award nominations, has announced that it's getting a physical deluxe edition. The PS5 version is going to be 2 discs, and the Xbox version is going to be 3 discs. That's pretty crazy. The deluxe edition is going to come with a physical version of the game, along with 32 stickers, the soundtrack for the game, a 3-disc soundtrack for the game, a deluxe edition box, a Mind Flayer poster. It's going to also have the world map, 600 by 180 millimeters, and 2 patches along with it. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. On PC, if you get the deluxe edition for PC, there is just a CD key and installer. So it seems like he'll be downloading the game from the internet instead of using a disc for that. So this is going to ship at about $80, which is not too bad for a deluxe edition. Let's be honest. And it's expected to ship sometime in Q1 of 2024 if you want to check that out. So yeah, 3 discs for the Xbox, 2 discs for the PlayStation. We knew that Baldur's Gate 3 was a huge game, but this is crazy. So there you go. All right, here are the 14 games coming to Xbox. I'm sorry, coming to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tiers. For the Extra tier, we have Teardown, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme vs. Maxi Boost On, Dead Island Riptide Definitive Edition, Superliminal, Eiyudian Chronicles Rising, Nobunaga's Ambition Taihashi, Alternate Jake Hunter, Daedalus The Awakening of Golden Jazz, what the hell, River City Melee March. In the premium tier, you get Grandia, Jet Moto, Up, Klonoa Fantasy Riviera series, and Parappa the Rapper 2. These are all PS5 and PS4 versions, so this is not the original Parappa the Rapper. This is the re-release on the PlayStation. The Klonoa games are also the remastered version. Up, this is a Disney game where you play as like the old man from Up. Jet Moto, I don't know about that game. Grandia, I've heard good things about it, but I've not played it. Pretty good month. A fair few less games being added than before, but still, I think this is still a pretty good month if you're a part of these tiers. So let me know how Teardown is if you play that. I might be picking it up when it comes out on Steam, but yeah, we'll wait and see. And here are some games leaving Xbox Game Pass on the 30th of November. We have Anvil, Battlefield 1943, Battlefield Bad Company, and Battlefield Bad Company 2, Disc Room, Eastward, and Grid. The Battlefield games, kind of sad to see them go, but 2 of those 3 are multiplayer only, pretty much. Bad Company 2, make sure you play that story mode before it goes away if you want to. Disc Room is a really fun game where you dodge spinning blades. It's really good. It was on my top 10 list the year that it came out. I would definitely recommend that. Eastworld is an RPG pixel art adventure game. Definitely would suggest checking that out. And Grid is a racing game. It's a pretty good one. You might want to check that one out too. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section of the show, which is going to be the section that Kalas and I recorded for a different podcast. So it has a bit of an awkward ending, I guess you could say. But This is we're gonna go ahead and do a tier list for the Mario 3D games. Please hang around. I'm gonna also do a song for the day for the podcast episode. So make sure you stick around for that. But yeah, please enjoy.
So the way I want to do this is like we both have to agree on a ranking. So if we both have like opposing views, we have to come to an agreement before we move on.
Ooh. Okay.
It'll make things a little bit interesting.
I think so. There are now, to be fair, there are a few games that I haven't played, and there's a few games that you haven't played on the list. So
Yes.
we'll just have to take each other at their word for, I guess, rankings, I suppose.
All right.
So let's quickly go through the list of all the Mario games we have here. So starting from the oldest the 3D Mario games. That's what I forgot to
Yes,
mention
we're
that.
talking about
3D
3D
Mario.
Mario games.
So the oldest one would be Mario 64, and then Mario Sunshine, and
Mhm.
then um, what 3D
Galaxy.
3D? Oh, Galaxy came out. Galaxy 2 was after that. We also have
Then
Odyssey on
I
the
think the next
list.
was 3D Land. Mario
3D
3D Land was
Land,
next.
and the wow, this is starting off great. And the Super Mario 64 on the DS,
Oh,
we will
oh, the
include
DS.
that, and then of course
Sorry.
Bowser's Fury, separate from 3D World.
World.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You got that? All right, we're right.
Oh, we're good. Yes.
So, I mean, how do we start? I mean, what's the worst 3D Mario game in your opinion?
The worst one. I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I think Mario 64 is the worst one.
Ooh, that's an interesting starting point there, Callus. I
Which one do you think is the worst one?
well, I don't think that 64 is the worst. I think that I like the level design for a lot of the levels. I know the stars are a bit basic compared to some of the ones that you get for in future games, but there's a charm to the Polygon 64 graphics, and when you go back and use that N64 controller, it still feels okay. Of course, when I replayed it, it was in the 3D collection, which was pretty good. I don't see it as the worst one in my opinion. That I mean, it could be one of the games that I haven't played, honestly. That is technically the worst.
I mean, I understand like the huge impact that the game has had. Like, it's because of Mario 64 that created the entirety of the like 3D platformer landscape. So yeah, like it has a huge influence. It showed 3D developers how to make a 3D game. So yes, I understand like how important and how good it was for the time. But it's just like it's also like he controls the most wonkily and there's like the most I don't know how to describe it. It's just like it's almost difficult to go back to basically.
Yeah, see, I don't agree. I feel like in terms of Mario's control style, like sure, of course, Mario Odyssey is like this perfect control style for Mario, but right below that, I think I would say like in terms of controlling Mario, I felt like the 64 doesn't do a bad job of giving you everything you need to and having the physics be the way that you need it to get around some of these maps. Um, the one thing that I really enjoy about Mario 64 not only is the music but also just how varied the levels are. Like there's really
Mm.
no two levels that are exactly the same. Like sure, there's two snow levels or whatever, but they are completely different. And the one thing that I will say that Mario 64 has over something like Mario Odyssey is the fact that there's not a million stars to get. There's 120 in the base game. Well, I guess the game itself, and Super Mario Odyssey just like has too many moons to collect. And once you finish the game, there's a whole new area you need to collect stars from. And I know there's a lot of people who love the collecting and they love just going around and collecting moons, but the puzzle aspect and the just how each level is set up for the stars in Mario 64, I think is better in general than how Mario Odyssey just kind of litters them across the map. Like some are just like literally underneath a mound of dirt and you butt slam on it and you get a moon. And it's like, do I really feel satisfied getting that star? No. Do I feel satisfied when I take the owl for a ride and jump into the cage that has a star in it? Yeah, I kind of do feel a little bit satisfied by that. Is it basic? Sure, but at least it's not ground pounding on the ground to get a star.
Yes, I mean, I personally do love Odyssey a lot, but yes, I agree that it has a little bit too many moons. But I love the fact that you can just like find just jump into a level and just freely explore and just find so many moons. Like finding each moon to me was like satisfying, and I do love the fact that there's just like anything you explore, you know more than likely will find a moon. Like that is very satisfying. But I do agree there's just a little bit too many moons.
Just a little bit too many in the game. I mean, I would say a lot too many in my opinion, but I guess that leads me to like what is my least favorite 3D Mario game, because in general I think most 3D Mario games are good. Now I haven't played 3D Land, but I have played 3D World. Um and I don't know, I didn't really enjoy 3D World a lot, I guess. I think it's fun, but when I went to go back and replay it after I did Bowser's Fury, I just kind of felt kind of basic to me. Maybe it's because I
Mm.
played Bowser's Fury before playing 3D World, but
I played through 3D World like entirely co-op with my brother, and because of that, we ended up having like a lot of fun. So maybe that's just the way to do it. Maybe it's like it needs to be a co-op experience for it to be like really good. Because I actually really enjoyed 3D World.
what about 3D Land?
3D Land, it's been forever. I do remember 100%ing it on the 3DS, and I remember really much enjoying it. So it's going to be interesting ranking it because I, besides remembering me enjoying it, I don't remember like much from it.
Hmm. So maybe we should throw 3D Land at the bottom.
Really, oof.
Well, seeing as I've never played it and you don't have any core memories from playing it, maybe
When
it's
you
the
say
worst one.
bottom, like you don't mean F, do you?
Well, oh, we're doing a tier list.
Are
I
we?
thought we were just ordering them in from least to best.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking tier, but you can do like we can just like do ranks if you want. So
The tier list
yeah,
might
maybe we
be
can do that.
easier though, honestly,
Mm.
because I don't think there's any Mario game. Well, there are Mario games that are F tier. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think there's any 3D Mario platformers that are technically F or maybe even
Yes,
D tier in my opinion.
I mean we can just like tier them according to where they fall in line. Compared to other 3D Mario games.
That's yes,
So
yeah.
like an F tiered Mario 3D Mario game could still be like a great game. You know what I'm saying?
That might be a bit confusing.
Whichever you want.
Well, if that's the case, then let me swing by my my tier list from last year when I played um Mario 64, because I kind of forget where I put it. That was 2022, maybe. Um, nope. Was it 2021? Maybe. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. I put it in B tier, which
B tier.
is on the same tier as Odyssey. So
Oof.
I must have had love and hate for both games. I guess not hate. Hate's a little bit strong, but love and
Hmm.
dislike for both games. So I'm comfortable with putting 64 at a C tier, lowering to a C tier, only because I know that it's not as grand or as spectacular as some of the other 3D games, and I do know that I kind of do prefer Odyssey a little bit just because it is like a newer game, controls better, and obviously there's more to collect, which can be a deterrent for people like myself. But I understand the people liking getting like all like what is there like 600 moons or something like that in the game.
Nine closer to 900.
900. But that's the other thing too. Like I feel like when I did the 120 star playthrough, I felt like that was a real solid number. Like that was a good number. And I mean, who doesn't love jumping into paintings in Mario 64?
I mean, here's the thing. I do actually love Mario 64. Like, I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I played it, when I was a kid on the N64, and
Me too.
I had fun with it. Yeah, but the problem that I have with it now is the fact that the later levels just get so difficult, and the objectives are sometimes so obtuse, and it's just like the platforming just gets so insanely difficult. It's just like at a certain point, it stops becoming enjoyable and starts being frustrating.
I really only felt that with Rainbow Road, I think. Or what was it called?
Hmm.
Rainbow something. The one right
Yeah, the
before
rainbow one, and like the clock tower also is in
I love the clock tower.
aggravating.
I know it's kind of aggravating, but I love how you can change the speed of the gears and stuff working inside of the clock to either make it a little bit easier or a little bit more difficult.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the only real stinker of a level in the game is that Rainbow Road one. And it's not because I think it's too difficult. I just think that it's a bit too, like... It's like... It's too obvious where to go sometimes. Like, oh, here's the path to this star. Here's the path to this star. It's not like the other levels where it's like you can kind of run and roam wherever you want to go. It's very more. It's one more. It's more one note of where you need to go. But other than that,
Hmm.
I mean, I love all the other levels that you can do in that one. Wet Dry World, we can raise the water depending on how high you jump into the painting. Um, I mean, the music in some of the levels are also
I love the music.
really good. I think that's just a baseline thing for every Mario game. Is like it has really good music.
I was gonna try push for D tier, but I'd be okay with a C tier for this game.
Well, you see, now I'm thinking of B tier. but
Oh boy.
but if we can get into if we can both be happy with finding a handshake in C tier, I'm fine with that.
Yes, we'll handshake C tier like through our zippers.
Yes. All right, Mario 64. It's going in C tier. Um, that is the first Mario game we've ranked. I'm gonna
Yes,
write down a note here because I don't actually have a tier list pop pulled up. So
I do have one, but it's missing missing two titles though.
okay, I'm just gonna write in our chat what it is.
All
There
right,
we go.
that works.
Okay. Oh man, where do we
So
go from
do
here?
you since we did Mario 64, you just want to go in chronological order?
Sure.
All right, so Mario Sunshine.
Mario Sunshine, Mario Day. I I got a lot of nostalgia for this game, but I know that it's janky and I know
Mm-hmm.
that it controls worse than Mario 64 in a lot of ways.
Yes, that's another one that's frustrating to me personally in terms of control.
I have not replayed it since I was just out of high school. I bought a copy of it on
Hmm.
Amazon along with a GameCube because like it was really cheap, and of course prices have gone up now since then since retro gaming has grown as a passion for people. So the $30 Mario Sunshine game that I bought back in the day is now like $70-$80. And
Yeah.
when I replayed it on that GameCube, I was like, damn, how did I ever play this when I was a kid? Because there's so many weird things going on in this game. Even though like the vibes are immaculate, I think the one thing that really pulls this game down is just the fact that there is full-on voice acting in the game, and it's just really off-putting.
It is kind of weird, yeah.
But I will say this is the game that introduces Toadsworth, so keep that in mind.
That's true. Yeah. Oh well, actually, is it?
I believe so.
Maybe you're right.
Correct us in the comments if I'm wrong.
Maybe. Okay. So funny story about this game is I've actually never beaten it. So I was having a chat with a coworker last year on my previous job, and we made a pact that this year we're both gonna like replay through all of Sunshine and actually beat it.
Mm.
So she actually beat it like a month or two ago, and I still haven't finished it, which I really need to get back on it because it's already November, so I'm running out of time.
Are you playing the 3D collection version?
Yeah, I'm playing it on the Switch. I do have the GameCube version, but I'm playing it on the 3D collection version on the Switch.
I am heavily debating if I want to play Mario Sunshine on the GameCube, the original platform, or the Switch version.
Mm.
I feel like Yeah, I have the GameCube like shaped controller for the Switch, which I do really like. But I feel like you lose a bit of that authenticity of not having that GameCube controller, not having the Z button, not having that
Actually,
weird small
I,
D-pad.
I I agree with you, and I actually have been playing it on the GameCube controller. Like I have this the adapter that I
Yeah,
bought to play Smash Brothers with GameCube controllers. I use that to play Mario Sunshine on the Switch, so it worked out perfectly.
nice. So what are we thinking here? Because I personally don't find it as. I mean, I would have to replay it again to confirm my thoughts. Personally, don't think that it's better than 64.
Yeah, same. I've like replaying it through it this year. I know for a fact that I'm probably not gonna want to replay it probably ever. So yeah, probably below 64 definitely.
But would you say it's still like a C tier type game? Like it's still good enough to be above
Um,
the desolate wastes of D and F?
it does have good music, and like you said, the vibes are pretty good. But no, I would probably want to put it on D tier.
Okay, I'm right there with you actually. Um, of course, opinions may change on replay, but from what I remember and from what really put me off, I think if they didn't have the voice acting in here, probably would be in a C right now. But the voice acting
Hmm.
does drag it down, like especially Bowser's voice and Kid and Bowser Jr.'s voice.
Yeah, Buster
Um,
Jr.
just yeah, not a great match for the characters. Also, like this is like one of the only games that has full on voice acting for these characters. I mean, Mario still doesn't talk, but everyone else in this game, including the Flood Pack, just is yammering on the entire game, and you just kind of wish that they went back to the style from Mario 64, which is just reading some text and having some pretty music in the background. Which, I mean, obviously this game does have a lot of pretty music, but it's overlaid with the Toadsworth talking in his gruff grandpa voice and Bowser talking in his I don't know whatever voice they gave him, but like,
Yes.
all right, so we're
Yep.
agreeing.
So yes, D tier for Mario Sunshine.
All right. Do you want to talk about Mario 3D Land?
That one's next.
I think so.
I mean, I know that Mario 64 DS came out first.
Oh, did it? Okay, so
Before that.
yeah, we can talk about that. Unless we want to do Mario
Um.
Galaxy next. I think Mario Galaxy's
Oh, I think Mario Galaxy was next. Yeah.
okay. Uh,
Or actually, it might have been DS actually first.
let's just do DS because that's
Either
gonna be
one.
quick.
All right. All right.
Um, I think DS is gonna land in the C tier right next to Mario 64, and I think even like
Hmm.
above Mario 64 in on the tier list itself, simply because they took the layout and all the different places that you can go to. They added new levels. They added new characters you can play as Wario, Yoshi, and Luigi in the game, and they all have their own special things going on. They retooled a lot of the boss fights and or Bowser fights, I should say. They added new boss fights in there. Um, and from what I
Ooh.
remember, it is a better experience than the original 64 game. Even though, obviously, me personally, I really like that 64 game. Mario 3, the 64 DS or whatever it's called, um, is pretty good. But it has a problem, and you were complaining about the controls and Mario 64. This
Hmm.
game, the DS game, definitely has a control issue simply because the original DS does not have like a joystick or like the newer 3DS has with the little thumbstick. It doesn't have that. So you have to
Do
do
you
a
think
3D platformer with a D-pad.
the way to play then would be on the 3DS, since you do have like the stick that you can use?
Yeah, that would I guess that would be one way to play it. I don't know if you actually can put it into a 3DS slot though.
Yeah, you can.
Well, then that would be
Yeah,
the
all
way to
DS
play it.
games are playable on the 3DS.
Mario 64. Yeah, I guess since my experience was from the original DS, I'm gonna keep it in C tier.
All right.
But yeah, maybe someday I'll play the PC version that is hacked
All right.
on stream or something.
Alrighty, so C tier just above Mario 64.
That's right.
So now Galaxy is next.
Now here's a game that I played on stream. I played the Switch version, and in terms of games that have motion controls in them, this one kind of annoyed me with the ball rolling segments,
Hmm.
but everything else was fine.
This game is when Mario finally controlled perfectly.
Ooh.
Like for me personally, like Mario 64 has some jank, and so did the Sunshine. But when they finally came to Mario Galaxy, like that's when Mario felt perfect, and that's how Mario controls like in the rest of the 3D games. Just the great controls, and besides having to like waggle the Wii remote to do the spin, everything else just felt beautiful, felt perfect.
Yeah, I will.
You like if you mess up in Mario Galaxy, it is your fault. It is not like the game or Mario doing something that you didn't want to do.
Yeah, I will say, I think the Joy Cons take away from the experience of Mario Galaxy because they're not as accurate with the IR sensor or whatever it is that gyro, the gyro. I mean, it's
Gyro, yeah.
not as good as the Wii sensor. I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think the Wii sensor bar and the Wii Motion Plus controllers, I think the motion controls with those things are way better than the Joy Cons. Um, but
Yeah, I think so.
when I played Mario Galaxy, I didn't use the motion controls. I did use the button layout where you can like press Y to do a spin attack, and that was fine. I didn't mind that at all. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, like I said, the only sections where you like were forced to use motion controls, like with the bubbles and the ball rolling, those did get on my nerves a little bit. I do believe that I did rage quit the ball rolling mini game that was in there. I was trying to do like the green stars, and there was one in the ball rolling galaxy or whatever, and I was like, you know what, this fucking sucks. But I think that is a Switch Joy-Con problem and not a Wii Mote problem, because I think my Joy-Cons kept losing track of where the center was on, just in space. So that I think that's why the ball rolling sections were just so much more difficult, because that Wii remote just has a constant connection with that IR sensor that you use for the touch bar.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that this game, it's still good, but the 3D All Stars version is slightly worse in ways because of the fact that you don't get that accurate, pinpoint accurate motion control that you do in the Wii version.
Hmm. That's interesting. I've only like played a little bit of the Switch version, so my memories are only mostly from the from the Wii version.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. But I mean, the game itself is like also just so much fun. Like flying from planet to planet. Like the music is incredible. First time it's orchestrated in a Mario game, and it's just like has so many memorable levels and boss fights, and it's just like a great experience overall.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's pretty good.
so where do you want to place it?
See, I was thinking B tier.
B tier, really?
Yeah, I was thinking B tier.
Hmm. Well, see, you're thinking A. I mean, well, yeah, I was thinking A or B. Mostly leaning towards A.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what my criticisms were for the game when I played it, because I did place it in B myself back when I played it, and I think it really was because of the Switch motion controls. I think that's what really pulled it back for me. Like, I think this game, I don't think there's too many stars. Okay, I think that adding the Luigi stars in there was kind of unnecessary in my opinion, because you're literally just going through this like the same levels again and again and again to get these Luigi stars on top of the regular stars that are in the game. Are they called stars?
Yeah, there. I think you do collect stars in this one.
Yeah, they're like Rosalina's like pet stars or whatever. But Lunas, that's what they're called. Um,
Oh, the Lumas.
Lumas. I love mama la mooma. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're looking for the 100% completionist on this, I feel like going back through each level and doing a bunch of the boss fights again and again and again would be a bit tedious. I also remember there being a lot of the same boss fight over and over again. Like the top,
Some of
the
them
top
do
spinner
show up twice.
one,
Yeah.
the piranha plant one. There's one like with like a fisting monster or something like that. But there are some pretty unique ones, and also, you know what, Callus, you throw Bowser into the sun at the end of this game, and that is just an iconic moment.
Yes.
But I still think B tier.
All right, sure. I can agree with B tier.
All right, Callus has conceded to B tier for me.
All
Okay,
right, so chronologically, I think 3D Land was next.
the floor is yours.
All right. Well, like I said, I haven't played it since I originally did on the 3DS. I just remember having a lot of fun with it. I 100%ed the game. I remember this being one of the Mario games where like 100%ing it is a lot of fun. You didn't really have to like revisit too many levels unless you missed a few of the hidden coins or whatever it was. And then like having the final, like once you find every coin, there's like this final challenge level that's like super difficult. You know how some Mario games do, and that was like a really fun challenge to get through. So um, I personally like really enjoyed this game. I wish I could remember more of it, but it felt like classic Mario games to where you have like the leaf and you can turn into Raccoon Mario and fly around at certain levels, and the 3D aspect was pretty cool. It felt like a 2D Mario game in 3D, which was very interesting. But I would probably want to put it like somewhere in B tier, maybe.
B.
Uh, yeah, B tier, probably below Galaxy.
Okay,
But I mean, if you say that, like, since I don't really remember that much from it, that it's probably not as memorable as other games, then maybe it belongs in C tier.
see, it's a tough one because I haven't played it personally. I mean, I've watched videos about it, and it looks fun. Don't get me wrong. But I'm going to use your judgment. I'll allow you to keep it in B tier
Hmm.
if you
All
want.
right.
You don't sound
I
confident.
mean, yeah, I don't really sound too confident. Let's just put it in C tier for now, just because maybe there is a reason why I don't remember much from it. Maybe it's just like very not memorable.
Well, now we have the debate: is it better or worse than Mario 64 DS?
Hmm. That's tough.
You see, I feel, even though I haven't played 3D Land, I do feel like the multiple characters, the new locations, the spiffy new 3D graphics, and the fact that they were able to take Super Mario 64 and build upon that, I think that would put 64 above 3D Land in my opinion. I don't know how varied the locations are in that game. I don't know how interesting the hunt for the stars are in that one. But
In
I
3D Land,
yes.
I mean, it's just like a goalpost at the end of the level. There's like very little exploration besides finding the three hidden coins in each level.
So would you say that in and of itself is worse or better than collecting stars in Mario 64 DS?
I guess I would put 64 DS above.
All right, we've come to a consensus.
But then is Mario 64 below that? Below both of those?
Oh, that's a good question too. I mean, I suppose since you actually enjoyed 3D Land, we should put it above 64. Or
All right,
should I
sure.
say you enjoy? You probably. I mean, do you feel like you enjoyed it more than your experience with 64?
Yeah, I would say that.
All right, I'll let you have that one.
All right, cool.
All right, next up, would it be Mario Galaxy 2?
Yes, Galaxy 2.
More like Mario Galaxy Poo, am I right?
No.
Yeah, this is another one that I've
So,
never played, so I'm gonna use your judgment on it.
me personally, like for the longest time, this was my absolute favorite Mario game of all time. Like it built everything that Galaxy had. Like it built upon it. It gave you more levels. Like they built so many more ideas on top of what they already had made with Galaxy. And also gave you Yoshi. Like controlling Yoshi is really fun. And like going from level to level, it was like more faster pace since there was no hub world. There was just like sort of like an overworld that you can just like quickly go from level to level. Like everything became more streamlined, more fun. It's just they just added so many more new ideas with this I guess that they wanted to do with Galaxy. They just built upon it so well, and it's just so much fun that I think it's a much better game than Galaxy.
So
So I go ahead.
let me hear what you think about this. The website that I'm looking at for just the 3D games in general put Super Mario Galaxy 2 at the bottom of their list.
Really?
And they say it's because it didn't innovate enough compared to other 3D Mario games. How do you feel about that?
I mean, yes, it didn't innovate because it's just Galaxy 2. It's like their direct sequel. But it did have like new ideas. It had like new power ups. It had Ghost Mario, which is like controlling him was pretty fun. And I felt like it did innovate a lot in terms of like like individual level to level. Like the things that you did is just they just built upon what Galaxy had made. So I don't think the innovation was a problem at all.
Yeah, they claim this will always be second fiddle to the original Mario Galaxy. How do you feel about that?
Wow. I had the complete opposite reaction to playing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this website knows that sometimes a Mario game just needs to be fun in order for it to be better than something like Mario Sunshine or 64. You know.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we're gonna use your judgment on this one for sure. Where would you personally put Mario Galaxy 2?
I personally put it in the A tier.
Ooh, we're jumping up, folks.
Yep.
Okay, I will. I will.
Do you don't have any? Do you have any reservations on that?
No, no, I don't have any opinions.
No. All right.
I've heard the thing is I've heard that it's better than the original game. Scott the Woz, this is his favorite Mario game ever. So I'm just gonna say okay. We'll go with it. Let it ride.
I mean, it has Yoshi. Yoshi.
As Blue Yoshi.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think technically 3D World is next.
Yes, 3D World.
Now this did get a re-release alongside Bowser Fury, but we're rating Bowser's Fury separately since it is like its own thing. And if we do rate Bowser's Fury with 3D World, I feel like it would be lower than I want Bowser's Fury to be, if you agree.
All right.
Because
Yeah.
3D World, as colorful and delightful as it is, I feel like it's a relatively like C tier type of Mario game.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun with it with my brother. I would probably not want to replay it by myself. So I think I would agree with the C tier placement.
And here's the hard part: we got 3 games in C tier.
See, yeah, C tier is getting crowded now.
Yeah, I mean, man, I think that it's high C tier. I think it is above 64 DS. I think 3D World scrapes the bottom of B tier, but it doesn't get there all the way.
Mm.
And like I can't put my finger on exactly why, because I think there's some really fun visuals in there. I think there's some good boss fights. I've never. I mean, if the Mario controls more like the 2D side-scrolling Mario, which I personally feel is a floaty character that you can't really control too easily. And I know that there's more like there's Luigi who can jump higher, there's Peach who can float, and there's Toad who can be annoying. So it's one of those games that like I'm a little bit torn about because like there are things that I really like about it, but also like I didn't really have fun while playing it. Like I had a baseline enjoyment, but it wasn't like, oh boy, I can't wait to play this level again. And I will say, at least, I mean, 3D World did introduce the Captain Toad levels, which turned into its own game.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Those
about
are
those. Yeah,
those are
fun.
pretty good. Those were like a highlight of my time playing it. I really enjoyed those, which is why I bought the Switch version of Captain Toad.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking high C.
I would agree with that. Yeah. So like the highest of the C tiered Mario games.
I would say yes, the highest of the C tier games.
All right, sure. Yeah, and also has like the co-op is like really fun on it with it. I've never played it with 4 players co-op, but I mean just 2 players was just like perfect. We had a lot of fun exploring together, and yeah, it was a great co-op experience.
So we'll say C plus.
Sure.
because it's almost there. It's almost there. Okay, we're in agreement there. Um, I guess up next would be Mario Odyssey, right? Because
Yeah.
3D World and plus Bowser's Fury came out after that. So
Yeah. So Mario Odyssey.
Mario Odyssey. Now I know I already said that I put it in B tier on my personal list when I was talking earlier, right next to Super Mario 64. I will say, in terms of this list, just ranking 3D Mario games in general, I think it does have an advantage, a distinct advantage over any of the other Mario games that we've ranked so far. Um, First off, I mean, the worlds that you go to, most of them are pretty cool. I think there's like one or two that are just kind of like quick little jaunts, like the Hat World or the Forest World. I didn't really feel like those two worlds were too incredible, but I think
Yeah.
every other world in this game really adds to the flair of Odyssey. And the fact that it is like a globe spanning adventure, you get the little airship and you go around like the planet and you actually see where the locations would be on the planet. Whether they make sense or not, that doesn't matter. But I like that idea of like a globe trotting Mario adventure where he goes from place to place, and there's just so many memorable locations. You got New Donk City. I mean, the opening world that you go to for like the first one that you can actually explore in like this
With the
island
dinosaur.
jungle, yeah, dinosaur world is like a perfect opening because you literally play as a T Rex at the beginning there, and they just kind of they just keep building from there. I mean, obviously, I've already said there's way too many moons, but the only other like slight negative I have is that the Bowser fight midway through the game and the Bowser fight at the end of the game play a little bit too closely. They seem to be about the same, but I will say being able to control Bowser at the end of the game makes up for that lackluster final boss fight.
Yeah, that was an amazing finisher to that game. And like this game is just like so full of joy to me. Like just playing it from like beginning to end, I was just like pure joy. I had like so much fun with it. It has so many amazing moments and great boss fights. And especially, the jump up superstar segment with a callback to Donkey Kong. Come on, that was amazing.
Yeah.
With the music, that was great.
Oh, we forgot to mention that you can go like 2D in this game sometimes. You get like the
Yeah.
8-bit style graphics, which is really cool. It's a really quick transfer to the different graphic style, which I mean the Nintendo magic, something happening in the background there.
Yeah.
Um,
And like throwing your hat and controlling enemies is always fun. Well, except for like just a very few enemies, they're just like kind of weird. But for
I'm
the
a
most part, like just controlling different enemies was just a lot of fun.
I'm a big fan of becoming the tree. No, yeah, I do feel like yeah, there's a lot of fun things that you can do here. Like the zippers, I felt like the zippers, even though they're really basic, like it's really fun to just put your hat on a zipper and unzip something. There's a
And
lot
then
of like
feeling
little
the HD
hidden.
rumble when you're sipping.
Oh yeah, this is one of those the rare games nowadays that uses HD rumble for the games.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there was I mean there's a lot of good level design in here. In particular, I really liked the area with like all the vegetables. It was like a chef was in the middle, the bird
Oh
chef or
yeah, the
whatever.
food world.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the best aesthetic kind of looking levels because it was all like polygon shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's like
Also,
very pastel colors and very bright.
yeah, also like the enemies were themed to it as well, like with the Hammer Bros having pans instead of hammers. Like it's nice
True.
little touches like that. And then being able to like control the fire blobs, and you can do like all these crazy things. Yeah, it's definitely like it's one of the only like 3D Mario games that really just gives you the reins and says, "All right, let's see how you can break this." Like they barely have any invisible walls. They barely have any out of bounds areas, and when you do find them, they reward you for it with like coins or an extra life or even a moon sometimes.
Oh, and traversal was just so much fun. Like the fact that you can throw your hat and like hold a button to like have the hat spinning in midair, and then like basically gives you like an extra jump in midair. That's became like so much fun to play with and reaching places that you didn't think you would be able to reach, and then reaching up there and then finding coins and like realizing the developers realize that gamers are gonna break it, so they just hit things everywhere. It's like a really fun.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's definitely like at the height of controlling 3D Mario games is probably like the best one out of all of them.
Yes, I would agree. Mario controls so
I
nicely. He has a he has a varied, a very varied, a very varied moveset. I think the one thing that does hold this game back a little bit is the motion control aspect, where you have to like move your entire Switch in a circle in order for him to do the circle hat attack, and it's
I never
unfortunate.
used that. Yeah.
It's unfortunate that there was no way to just do it with a button face. I found that move to be very helpful when fighting the little tiny yellow Goombas.
Mm.
In the end, it is a small nitpick, but it is something that annoyed me while playing through it.
Yeah, I never really used it. Like I usually did the ground pound, which just push all of them back.
That's one way to do it.
I kind of want to put this game in S tier. Honestly, it became my favorite game like after Galaxy 2.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice place to put it, but I was thinking A tier because I think there's one game that's better than Mario Odyssey.
Mm. I guess I could concede and put it in A tier above Galaxy 2.
I agree. I agree with that placement.
All right.
Okay.
I guess it wasn't as heated of a battle as I thought it was going to be.
No, because I mean, in the end, I do like Odyssey a lot. In the context of my streaming tier list, I have to remember that there's other games on that list other than Mario games, so I kind of
Yeah.
put it where I thought it should be on that list. And on this list, I do think compared to other Mario games, and of course I can't compare it to Galaxy 2 because I've played that, but compared to the other Mario games on this list that I have played, it's definitely better than everything else that we've talked about so far.
Hmm.
But
Alrighty.
there's one Mario game that I feel like is a perfect Mario game, and that is the Bowser's Fury expansion.
Yes.
I feel like there is a perfect number of cat coins. I love how the world is just kind of there for you to explore, and you can just kind of get into levels without having to do a loading screen or travel to a different location or anything like that. It just pops up a message saying, hey, here's world 1, 2, and you're just kind of in it. And I love the idea of like Giga Bowser like shooting fire at you randomly, and
Mm.
like the music plays and it's all like heavy metal, and I love I love the layout of this game, and I just really enjoy having like Bowser Jr. with you. Like he's not used enough in Mario games at all. Like sure he shows up in sports games, but other than that, like that's it for Bowser Jr. Like I really do feel like they went all out with the Bowser's Fury. It feels kind of like a nice mix between 3D World and Mario Odyssey at times, especially with like the power ups. And there's a lot of good ideas here, and I just the one thing is I wish there was more of it. That's really all. I just wish that
Mm.
there were a couple more levels or maybe another area to explore with even more levels in it. But like I said before, I think that the number of cat shines is perfect. I think the game is easy enough and accessible enough that like even like me as a kid could probably get all however many coins there are, all the coins
Hmm.
on it, which is also like of course like that's a good thing too because it's a Mario game. The kids need to be happy too with the game too.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. The fact that it's just like so short, you can beat it in like under 5 hours. But I mean, yeah, the whole thing, like from beginning to end, is like a lot of fun. Like the control is really good. Having the power ups from 3D World and actually having like freedom to rotate the camera and like just go anywhere you want it works perfectly. It's great. And yeah, I agree with everything you said. Like the constant threat of Giga Bowser, and then going giant with Mario, and then doing those battles was really cool. Yeah, that whole experience was fantastic.
Indubitably. Yeah. I mean, I think that this is the perfect 3D Mario game. In general, I don't have any gripes about it. Like I know the game's a little short, but like sometimes a game that's short and sweet is better than a game that is long and bloated. And there's a lot of games coming out nowadays, not just like Odyssey, but there's a lot of games coming out that they feel like the developers feel like they have to include everything. You need a huge open
Mm.
world and tons of side content and like these missions that constantly are popping up and you need to collect 1,000 things and blah 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 blah.
Like
Sometimes
Tears
just
of the Kingdom.
well that's your opinion. I have not played the game.
Or Breath of the Wild also.
That's true. Yeah, I feel like Breath of the Wild's a too big of a game in my opinion, but I think Bowser's Fury just threads that line of like just right. It's the one that I would say is like that's one. I mean, Bowser's. I've already played through it twice, so that's
Mhm.
that's already a good sign, seeing as it came out only a couple years ago. So
Hmm.
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
For me personally, both Odyssey and Bowser's Fury could go in S tier. But I mean, it sounds like you want to put Bowser's Fury in S tier, right?
I sure do.
So I guess it's gonna have to go in S tier then.
Let's
To me,
freaking
like
go.
Odyssey is above Bowser's Fury for me personally, but I guess since we have to agree, I'll have no choice.
I mean, I would put Odyssey in S tier if it wasn't for the fact that there was so many moons to collect, and
Yeah, that's
they're
the
not
one
all
drawback
interest.
to it.
Like, I feel like if 900 moons, how many of those moons are actually interesting and fun to get? I mean, I can't say personally, but I do
I
know
mean, a
that
lot of them are.
out of the ones that I got, I would say half of the ones that I got were actually interesting moons to get
Hmm.
for me personally.
Did you
What
ever do like all the extra content in Odyssey, like the dark side of the moon and the darker side of the moon?
I started doing that stuff, but I stopped playing the game a little bit after I streamed it.
Hmm. All right.
I know there's a lot of good stuff in there. Don't get me wrong, but when there's so many moons, they can't all be bangers. And when I was playing it, maybe I just got all the ones that weren't bangers.
Hmm.
but but I felt like there's a good chunk of them that were just like go to this random spot in the desert and ground pound and you get a moon. And it's like, okay.
But also with Odyssey, the doing the no coin challenge was like really fun for me, just because the movement is so much fun, and you had to like sometimes find creative ways to get around some of the coins.
Have
So
you
that
tried
made it a lot of fun too.
have you tried a no coin challenge in Bowser's Fury?
I haven't. I should.
Ooh, so yeah, before you say anything about no coin challenge in Odyssey, maybe try out no coin challenge in Bowser's Fury.
All right.
So, I think we're in agreement.
So yeah, S tier then for 3D
Hey,
Fury, or I mean Bowser's Fury.
Bowser's Fury, let's go.
There we go.
So we'll just run through them real quick. Sunshine D, Mario 64 C, Mario 3D Land C, Mario 64 DS C, Mario Galaxy B, Mario Galaxy 2 A, Mario Odyssey A, Bowser's Fury S.
A pretty good tier list.
Pretty good. I mean, I agree with all these.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the placement of all of them.
So what can Mario do to get back into the S tier in his next outing that we probably won't see until the next Switch is released?
I mean, I can tell you whatever Nintendo's cooking up, probably no one's gonna predict, because I mean they just go just so wild with every new Mario entry. It's just like no one can predict ever where they're gonna go. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we had hat capturing in Mario Odyssey. We had giant Giga Mario in Bowser's Fury. Boy, yeah, it's hard to say what they're gonna do, and Nintendo, they don't like to put out a game or start developing a game until they have a new idea for something. So it's possible that they were just at the drawing board for so long, which is why we didn't see anything with Odyssey.
Mm.
And maybe that's also why we saw Bowser's Fury, because they were like, oh, we can take this 3D world idea and make it into something cool. And then
Oh,
Sonic
you
was
know
like, hey, I also want to do that thing with the floating platforms and getting right into a level without doing anything.
Hey, want to take a quick second to rank all 3D Sonic games and just put them all in D or F tier? Well, they just put them all in F tier just to be safe.
Well, let's at least put Sonic 06 in F tier so Squid Daddy can get
Yes.
angry.
All right, Sonic 6 F tier. All the other 3D Sonic games D tier. Perfect.
Frontiers, I would probably put it at a B, a healthy B.
I don't know. I've never played. I haven't played a lot of them.
Yeah, me neither. Sonic Frontiers and '06. '06 I played back in the day on a rental, which was interesting. Um, and
I had
Frontiers I
fun with
played a bit.
Adventure in Adventure 2 up to a certain point, so maybe both of those can be like C tier.
Yeah, I mean, Adventure was one of those games I got in GameCube, and I didn't even know what Sonic really was back then.
Hmm.
And I had a lot of fun with that one, with the little water monster that you chased around and the different characters you can use. I got really confused when Biggs the cat and he had like this fishing mini game you had to do, and I that's kind of where I stopped playing it. But in general,
I don't even remember
I had a
that.
good time with it. Um,
Hmm.
oh, you know what? I played the Wii game, Sonic and the Seven Gold Rings or something like that. Sonic and the
Oh, I have that. I had that too. Yeah, the Sonic and the Secret Rings or something like that.
Yeah, that can go in F tier.
That one was just such a mess. Like, why make a game where it's so fun to go fast, and then you there's certain segments where you have to like walk backwards? Why?
Well, yeah, if you hate the slow Sonic games, get ready for the one where he turns into a werewolf and it turns into a beat 'em up. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, I've
But
learned that the whole idea of going fast as Sonic is only in like the shows, because when you're
yeah,
playing the game, you do need to be a bit more meticulous and be a bit slower at times. Especially, I believe the new game in general has so many branching paths with it. You need to like play the game a bit slower, kind of like a Mario Wonder kind of style, where it's like you're kind of exploring a bit more than just going fast. And I mean, yeah, I mean
hmm.
the whole thing about Sonic is that he goes fast. So why don't we have a game where he just goes fast, or you can go fast with no consequences? It's a
Yeah. I
little
wish
bit
there was
beyond
like,
me.
I wish they would just made a Sonic games where it's like usually the first level of every 3D Sonic game is like a lot of fun, and then it just goes downhill from there. Like, just give me more of that at the first level.
Just give me more Green Hill Zone. That's all I want.
And to quickly go back to Mario Galaxy,
Yes.
so I remember being a kid. So at the time, it was like around the Super Nintendo time. Like I remember having played Super Mario Land and then Super Mario Galaxy. Or I mean, sorry, Super Mario Land and then Super Mario World. And then as a kid, I was thinking, where can Mario go next? And I was like, oh, I got it, Super Mario Galaxy. So I actually predicted Mario Galaxy years before that came out.
Whoa. You better call up a lawyer.
And I remember how like drawing him in space with a helmet, and like Yoshi had 3 tongues because he's like an alien.
Okay. Well, they didn't use all your ideas, but they used a
Right.
fair amount. It'll hold up in court.
Yeah, cool, perfect.
Yeah. I remember
Alrighty
playing
then.
Mario 64 when I was sick and I threw up on my controller.
Oof.
But the game was so fun that I kept playing.
With puke in the controller?
No, I cleaned it off and then I kept
Oh,
going.
okay. All right.
Or I will say my mom cleaned it off and then I kept going. Yeah, I had this. I stayed home a lot when I was a kid from school because I just wanted to play Mario and Donkey Kong 64 and Banjo Kazooie. And eventually my parents, they knew what I was doing at that point, so they started staying home with me, which forced me to like lay in bed the entire day and do nothing. And I was like, this sucks. I'd rather be at school at this point.
Wow. A kid who would rather be in school. Wow.
Yeah. Well, when your parents are like, you're sick, you can't watch TV, you can't play video games, you can't do this. And I was like, oh man. Oh
Hmm.
man. Once
Yeah,
middle
that's a
school came
bummer.
around, I did have pretty good attendance from middle school onward.
I do remember there was like a year or two where I had perfect attendance in middle school.
I always strived for perfect attendance in high school, but then a flu went around, and
Mm.
like my parents are like, "Well, you missed some school. We're not going to give you the $50 we promised you." I'm like, "Come on,
Oh,
I'm actually sick here. Like, please."
I should have just given it to you. That's unfair.
What are you gonna do? I'm sure they had their reasons.
Hmm.
All right. Well, great talk, Callus.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what I'm going to name this
Great
episode,
conversation.
but I'm sure it'll come to me while I'm editing it.
You'll think of something.
I'll think of something. Is there anything that you want to say before we skedaddle? We get out of here.
Oh, you want me to say the last word?
Ooh, yes, please.
All right, sure. Well, Yemmy, how about we fuck off? Wahoo!
Okay, thank you once again to Kalas for suggesting the idea of doing a tier list for the Mario 3D games. Um, we'll see. We'll see when the next one comes around. But we're eating good. Mario 3D games, we're eating good. And yeah, let's go ahead and move on and do the final part of the show. Everyone's favorite, guess that song. If you can tell me the song name and the game that it came from, I will give you a free super reaction in the Discord or a comment and a heart on YouTube. I'd appreciate you trying to get the song. You can always ask for hints if you want to in the Discord. I'm not opposed to that. Okay, thank you to everyone who stopped by today, listening to this episode of the podcast. Do appreciate that. Have a nice Thanksgiving if I don't hear from you, folks. And also have a nice week and weekend after that. If you want to check out the other podcast I do, it's called Film Freaks with a Z, where we talk about movies. The latest episode is about Onward from 2020. If you want to check that out, good episode. A new podcast experience is coming to my Twitch channel at Yemmy the Ferret. I stream on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. Every bi-weekly on Thursdays, we'll be doing a nighttime stream starting around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I will be doing a podcast. And that won't start until the 30th of November. So if you want to, you can check out the Discord, link in the description below, and see what the new podcast is going to be all about. It's going to be pretty much a fan-made and produced kind of podcast where I just talk about topics that people suggest. I also bring my own to the table, of course. So if you want to check that out, make sure you join the Discord and look into the Ferret Cafe section in the Discord. All right, folks, I will talk at you next week. Have a great rest of your day. I'm Yemmy the Ferret, and I'm out of here. So long. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.